Greetings and salutations, ladies and menfolk. Welcome to my first foray into Game Break, a series brought to you by Full Coverage Writers, where our crew decides to stray away from productivity for a short while and distract ourselves with some gaming and some plot and some characters and a fantastic little soundtrack going on in the background right now from this game. I am Charles, your main instigator of creative insanity, coming to you today with Dysfunctional Systems. This is a really nice looking graphic, or not graphic novel, interactive novel in that you just click and it keeps rolling with a story. I'm not sure if there are going to be choices involved somewhere down the line, but this has been in my Steam library for a while now, so I thought we'd roll right into it. Let's start a new story. Working families across Brighton are no doubt issuing a collective sigh of relief today as the legislation for a minimum wage increase of 50 cents passed in Parliament early this morning. This bill comes after public outcry that the majority of Brighton citizens are without enough income, too poor to make ends meet after the recent increase in food prices. The change brings minimum wage for workers working over 40 hours a week to $3.67 an hour, and workers working less to $3.20. Although welcomed by most, there has been stiff opposition towards the bill from foreign investors, primarily those from Gabriel. Major Gabriel companies such as Ujco and Nordkli have warned that wages increases would hurt Brighton's economy, arguing that the new rate would force more layoffs as they cannot afford as many employees. President Barnaby, who has been supportive of the legislation since its inception, retorted that well-fed employees were more productive, and reminded Ujco and Norkley representatives that employing a Brighton citizen was still over 16 times less expensive than employing a citizen of their home country. Stocks did, however, take a moderate tumble after the approval of the legislation. President Barnaby assured citizens that the drop would only be temporary, and that the markets would begin to rise again after the initial shock had subsided. With this minimum wage increase, Barnaby has finally fulfilled the last of the campaign promises made during his 1523 campaign trail. Whether or not he manages to accomplish his 1527 goals remains to be seen. With that, we conclude our hourly business report. Next up, the latest in entertainment news. Without a doubt, I still find it strange. Everything strange. Bizarre. Really, if these worlds were nothing like my own, at least then I could appropriately flip out. But no, they're similar. Too similar. I keep slipping into a feeling of normalcy, only to have that sensation of strangeness slap me across the face at the first sign of something weird. There are plenty of weird sights around to do so, too. Like, for instance, these advanced-looking televisions in this decrepit-looking building, which I can only assume is an electronics store. They are the first things I've seen since arriving in this world that actually look somewhat new. Fancy, even. Up until now, everything has been old, ramshackle, and in various states of disrepair. It makes me feel very nervous. It's just so profoundly disturbing. Will I ever get used to this? I think that I will. Some year or decade from now, if my mentor is any indication. Look at him, standing there so aloof, as if this were just another day to him, which, yeah, I suppose it is. Well, what do I know? Nothing. Winter. Yes? What do you think? Think? About what? About what we just saw and heard. Oh. To be honest, I wasn't really thinking anything about it. Winter, we've only just started. Please try to focus. Yes, yeah, I will. Sorry. It's just, well, I'm still finding it a bit hard to wrap my head around the idea of destructive conflict. Well, of course. I was the same when I first started out. There aren't that many examples of conflict at all in our world. Right. You might even find it surprising that war is actually a word in our dictionary. Totally. Yet still, Winter, you'll come to understand conflict very well, don't worry. After all, you'll be doing nothing but dealing with it. Lame. Well, anyway. You read the material on this world, right? It should have been your homework. It was. Then tell me what you think. Perhaps it's time to admit that I didn't spend much of last night reading the material so much as turning the pages and glancing at them. I was tired, and honestly found watching the bubbles in my soda significantly more captivating than the words in these files. The way they merge with each other and crawl up the glass is really incredibly pretty. You're certainly pondering rather hard there, Winter. You must be whipping up a dazzling answer. Brighton is poor? That's a fact, Winter, not a thought. Sorry, what I think nothing. Look, what I've learned so far in class doesn't seem to be particularly applicable to this world, so I'm finding it a bit difficult to care. How can I care anyway? Besides all that, this is all so disconnected from me. Plus, it's only my second world, for heaven's sake. I'm still flummoxed by the fact that other worlds exist. What am I supposed to think when they just toss me into these places? Give me a pat on the back and say, "Be on your way, merry child"? Actually, here's a thought. What kind of a name is Brighton? It's a stupid name for a country. It sounds more like a town. The town of Brighton. Population 40. Blah. I'll just scream blah at Cyrus and any other mentor who questions me like this. I mean, I won't, but I would. I completely, totally, and so would. For now, though, an awkward and wobbling smile is all I can muster. Blah. Well, whatever. What do you think the next step is? Alright, cool it, Winter. Just remain calm and genuinely consider the question. The next thing to do... We need to learn things that weren't given? Right. Sir, I couldn't ask my last mentor. Why are the dossiers we get before we come to these places so thin? Well, it's because they are simply comprised of first-hand information, noteworthy things that mediators have gathered through observation and gleaned from prior trips to the world. You're lucky you even have that much. Sometimes you get sent to worlds that have never been visited before. Let me tell you, it's never fun when a surprise dragon flies out from behind a mountain, or when you realize that the person you've been talking to is really just a convincing projection, or worse, a robot. And once you start going into systems that threaten your definition of what being a world even means, good luck. Then again, only experienced mediators have to deal with such things. You won't be going to any unvisited worlds, at least definitely not yet. Oh. Another question. Why revisit worlds that have been helped? I mean, once order is in place, everything should be fine, right? I mean... Cyrus frowns, but his expression seems more complicated than that. I say that because his frown isn't alone. In his eyes there is a glint of irritation, directed at no one in particular. As any glint, it's gone in a second, replaced by another thing that I can't quite decipher. Part of me is curious as to what it is, but most of me doesn't care. Here's the short answer. Because chaos cannot be contained or removed. Although it can be lessened by us, it will rise again over time. Sir, are you saying there's no point to anything? No. Chaos is not inherently bad, Winter. It is the means by which all worlds are born and continue, even ours. Furthermore, it is the spark of evolution. It plays a key part in those mutations which allow life to grow and improve itself. However, for life to succeed, there must also be order. It's like, Well, it's like how cells must work together and organs must serve their purpose. You see, a system where chaos is stronger than order is likely to collapse, just as an organism which has succumbed to disease is likely to die. In short, we are not here to eradicate chaos, Winter. We are only here to keep it in check. Oh. Anyway, where do you think we should go next? Well, someplace with a lot of information, I suppose. Allow me to get to thinking about such a place. Oh, surprise! I'm done! The answer's so obvious it's insulting. After all, I'd already gone there during my first mediation. The library! No, that's not... Why would we go to the library? I mean, I get your line of thought. Libraries can tell you a lot about a world's history, and I would bet there are computers there too, considering the world we're in. Unfortunately, that kind of knowledge probably wouldn't be so helpful for this job. What about scholarly journals? Reliable sources? No. I think we should go find a bar. Huh? What is it? Oh, well, I just had a thought. Are the bars here special? Like library bars? I figured maybe you'd like to drink as you read, maybe. Winter, stop thinking about libraries. Sorry. Bars here should be normal, as far as I'm aware. We'll head there because bars are where people go to talk. Cyrus then turns to walk away, as if it's the next natural thing to do. Well, it is not. I stand incredulously for 3 full seconds before realizing that we are supposed to move ahead. Speaking of moving ahead, that is where we are going to wrap up this first episode of Dysfunctional Systems. Join me next time round as we see just what the bar has in store for us on this strange new world. Actually, first, the codex here has said new. What is the codex in this game? Alright, we have information on Brighton. Brighton is a minor society on S8659541, Sule, with strong historical and present connections to both Gaebria and Ferdia. A site of several rich mineral deposits, it was previously a Gaebrian colony, but gained independence 120 Sule years ago. It also shares a large portion of its border with Ferdia, and a truce has been signed between Gaebria and Ferdia concerning the territory. Brighton was still a colony at the time. Although Brighton shares in the technological advancement of its mother country, it does not share in prosperity, and is economically weak by comparison. The Brighton people are a hard-working and closely knit group, and tend to describe themselves metaphorically as ants. This society has not yet been visited. Category Minor Society. Okay, so that is where we currently are. Now as for the larger planet, Sule, System 865941. Local name Sule. It's an active planet. 9 major societies. Scientific development, low level, rapid advancement. Rigid physics. Plane shared with 3 other systems. But it is isolated. There have been 45 visits though. It's cool that they go into that much detail. I'm really looking forward to see what else is going to be in this codex. Personal security note. Many species of fish on Sule are poisonous to earthen. Avoid seafood to be safe. Oh no. System 86595541, Sule, is one of 4 planetary civilizations known to reside on plane 73813. Currently, it is unaware of its distant neighbors, and it's likely to remain so as it has not yet achieved interstellar travel. Sule's 5 continents are largely arid and mountainous, however each contains small patches of fertile land. These lands were once endangered due to war and conflict, but are now fiercely protected as a result of mediation visits numbers 8 through 15. S8659541 contains 12 oceans, all of which are heavily salted and somewhat acidic. Nevertheless, these oceans contain a variety of sea life, and consequently fishing constitutes a large portion of both the economy and food supply of Sule. International conflicts with regards to the ownership and right to fish sea life was resolved in mediation visits 16 through 22. The harsh conditions of the planet have led to an increase in the rate of technological advancement, causing Sule to teeter on the brink of an outlier classification. Scientific discoveries can happen much more quickly here than in most other worlds. Due to this, levels of chaos within the system are variable and may spike unexpectedly. However, overall, this has not been a common occurrence. Although there are 9 societies on Sule of notable influence, there are 3 that are of particular importance to the system. These 3 are called Gabria, Feridia, and Rosare. The remaining 6, Roma, Charis, Dom, Jonas, the Madlands, and Messe, are not usually of major consequence, though are often caught up in the quarrels of the main 3. The main 3 will be covered in brief in the following paragraph. Please visit their respective codex entries for more in-depth information. Gabria is the most economically powerful of the 3, largely due to its sizable number of colonies scattered across the globe. It is also the most frequently problematic. Feridia is a military superpower as well as a paragon of the arts. It is prone to warring and is also commonly involved in the subject of mediation. The last society, Rosare, is diabolical, having a reputation of cruelty and bizarre acts of violence. It has used fear to rise to power and control its populace. Interestingly, it is the least problematic of the 3, and its involvement in issues can dramatically lower the levels of chaos. Despite Sule's occasional high levels of chaos, it has not often required mediation, and is considered quite stable. Still, caution should be taken when visiting this world. Okay, like I said, this is cool. I like this type of depth in a world's lore. Okay, we are going to save. Yes. And with that, tune in next time to see where the story goes from here. Go get creative. Enough distractions and procrastinations already.